Doing well, thanks, Ruby. Lovely to be back with you all. So today, we're cutting to the heart of it, aren't we? What does good mental health actually mean? I think, honestly, for most of my life, I assumed it just meant not being, well, unwell. But the World Health Organization says it's about realizing our potential, coping with daily stresses, being productive, contributing to our communities. It's not just the absence of struggle, right?
Yeah, I love that definition because it actually puts the focus on growing and doing things, not just ticking a box that says not depressed. But it can depend on where you come from too. Some families expect you to just get on with it, and some cultures look at mental well-being so differently, either as super private or a group responsibility, That messes with what we think healthy looks like.
Exactly. Take the Mayo Clinic's view, or mind. They all say it's about how you handle emotions, relationships, and your behaviour. The normal measure changes with context. I mean, I only started properly thinking about what it genuinely meant to be well after a close friend pointed out I was functioning. Yes, but not really thriving. That difference, it was subtle but profound. It wasn't about never being anxious or sad, more about whether I was able to cope, contribute, and connect despite those feelings. Sometimes your own expectations or your family's definition keep you from recognizing how you really feel.
Totally. And I think it's such a relief to say out loud that good mental health isn't a constant or about faking happiness, because you can be managing stuff and still have well-being. Or you can look fine but be totally struggling inside. I wish someone told me that years ago. Okay, let's get into how to actually break this stuff down so it makes sense day to day. All right, so one model that keeps popping up in proper clinical settings is the 5 Ps: presenting problem, predisposing, precipitating, perpetuating, and protective. Basically, therapists use this to understand someone's struggles in a more complete way than just what's wrong. It's all the messy bits that make us, us.
Yeah, so you start with the presenting problem, the issue at hand, maybe social anxiety, then predisposing factors like family history or past bullying. Precipitating is, why now? Maybe say, you just changed schools and lost your familiar crowd. Perpetuating. Let's say avoiding group activities keeps you stuck. But then protective factors. That could be, a talent for art or a supportive teacher. Using this, a therapist might spot that art isn't just a hobby. It's a genuine resource for building new connections and confidence.
What I think is cool about the 5 Ps is you don't have to be a psych to use it on yourself, right? If you reflect and go, wait, am I stuck because of old stuff or because I just had a bad week at work? That's the model. You can actually untangle your stress and see where you might lean on strengths or ask for help, instead of thinking you're just bad at coping. Sometimes you just need to notice, oh, my coping is always scrolling on my phone every night. And then you see how that perpetuates your stress. Oh, anyone else?
Oh, absolutely. And you don't have to formally chart it out, but just having that framework helps, I think, break cycles like, what's keeping me stuck here? What could actually help? It's much better than just blaming yourself for feeling off. Shall we move to what qualities actually pop up in folks who are doing well, though? Brilliant, yes, the 5 C's triumph behavioural health lays them out as competence, confidence, character, connection, and caring. They call these foundational, sort of what we're aiming for as signs of resilience. So, competence. Can you handle challenges? Feel able to cope? Confidence. Do you believe you can grow and deserve good things? Character. More about knowing your values, doing what feels right.
Right? And then you've got connection and caring. Those are my absolute favourites because honestly, nothing works if you feel alone or like you just don't care, right? Or like if you don't feel cared for. At Triumph, they actually do things like pair people with mentors to build confidence and help them create little community circles for connection. And you can see it ripple out. One small group makes it easier to trust another, and so on. That happened to me with podcasting, actually. I started tiny, putting a story out, talking with 1 or 2 friends about difficult stuff. Each time, my confidence as a storyteller and a person grew a bit more. It's all tiny experiments, not overnight transformations.
Love that, Ruby. And you're spot on. It's very much a process. Character and caring are about your values and how you express empathy, and they can be developed, not just innate things. Anyone listening, think, what's one small area you could nudge up this week? Even reaching out to someone else or setting a tiny challenge for yourself. That's building one of the C's already. So let's dig into the practical. There are a lot of lists out there. One I found fascinating is psychiatrist Dr. Bowen's 7 behaviours. Being active, using positive defence mechanisms, connecting socially, practicing regulation, human cognition, self-acceptance, and adaptability. And then you get the NHS 5 steps. Connect. Be active, learn new skills, give to others, and pay attention to the present. Bit of overlap, but also some fresh angles, right?
Yeah, and honestly, setting small, realistic goals from these is so much more doable than telling yourself, just be happy. Like I tried to learn a new skill last year, pottery. I was flat out rubbish, but even being terrible at it, I felt alive. Just focusing on the clay got me off my phone for 30 minutes. Sticking with even those tiny changes is hard though. I still struggle with mindfulness stuff. Sitting still, my brain's running laps. That's the habit I find hardest. But when I do manage, just paying proper attention to making a cup of tea or going for a walk, it actually shifts my whole day.
I think that's the reality for most, picking what works for you. Maybe you're great at connecting with others, but struggle with self-acceptance or adaptability. Start from strengths and pick a behaviour that feels reachable, not overwhelming. Small steps build habits, and habits become your personal toolkit for staying on track with mental wellness.
All right, if we're talking wellness, we have to talk resilience. And Eric, you must be all over this from all those BBC guides and Minds advice. Resilience isn't just bouncing back, is it?
Not at all. Resilience is the process of adapting, especially through tough times, and it fluctuates for everyone. It's shaped by lifestyle, diet, exercise, sleep. But it's also about having social support, reframing thoughts, and recognizing what you can control. The old locus of control. If you believe you can influence what happens, you'll shape your response, even if you can't choose your circumstances. The BBC, for example, runs well-being workshops and encourages team leaders to model healthy behaviours at work, so people feel safer taking breaks or speaking up. A leader modelling boundaries or showing it's okay to make mistakes, that has a flow-on effect, especially in high-stress jobs.
I love the phrase, building resilience is learnable, because anyone listening, whether you think you're bad at change or not, it's just practice. Family resilience came up heaps in our earlier episodes too. Celebrating wins, having supportive networks, all those little things add up.
And noticing your own patterns, if you catch yourself spiralling or catastrophizing, try to step back and look at the evidence. Reframing that story is classic CBT. And honestly, it works. It's not always easy, but over time, it does get easier. And resilience isn't about being perfect. It's about staying in the process, even on the rough days. So, sometimes, though, these struggles tip over into something more, and that's when reaching out matters. The Mayo Clinic says some red flags are a big change in personality, withdrawing from people, a sharp drop in school or work performance, or just that ongoing sadness, fear, or risky behaviour. If you're seeing these in yourself or someone you care about, that's a reason to seek support. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just slowly fading away from things you care about.
I want to share a quick story. One of my friends is usually super bubbly, but over a few months she stopped agreeing to hang out, basically ghosted her group chat, and just didn't seem like herself. Eventually, she mentioned she'd been feeling off for ages, and that admitting it felt like a failure. But as soon as she did, getting help didn't feel so impossible. That whole asking is weakness thing is such a myth. We need to ditch it, don't we?
Absolutely. It's not about being strong enough to tough things out. Sometimes reaching out is the strongest thing you can do. If anything we've discussed today resonates and you wonder, is this just a rough patch or something more? Please talk to someone. There are helplines, text services, and just starting with a friend, teacher, or GP makes a difference. Let's finish on a positive. Psychology Today lists 10 qualities mentally healthy people tend to share. Things like optimism, gratitude, motivation, letting go of anger, helping others, persistence, self-care, and setting boundaries. Simple things, but powerful. Like just finding one thing to look forward to or letting yourself say no to protect your energy.
And I reckon every listener has an example if you really think about it. Maybe you've helped a mate, or found joy in a cuppa and a chat, or finally turned your phone off after 9 p.m. If you did, I envy you. For me, gratitude's become that habit. I'm bad at journaling, but I try to just notice one thing I appreciate each night. Makes it harder for the bad days to set up camp, you know?
I might be guilty of letting boundaries slip. I do check my emails after hours. It's something I'm working on, truly. But like we said, progress, not perfection. For those listening at home, what's one quality or small habit that helps you or someone you know stay afloat? Send us a note, share your stories, and we might feature them in a future episode.
Yeah, and shout out to everyone who makes time for these simple acts. It all counts. That's it from us for today. Next time, we'll dive into more practical tools for carers and families. So stay tuned and don't be shy about dropping us your questions.
Ruby, always a pleasure. Take care, everyone. Don't forget those small wins.
Catch you next time, Eric. And thanks all for listening. Go on, do something good for your mind today. Bye.